There are places humanity was never meant to touch. Miles below the ocean's surface, in the crushing darkness, where no light has ever reached, something ancient waits. And when we found it, it didn't just wake up. It hungered. Before we dive into this terrifying tale of desperation and survival, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you love chilling stories of horror, aliens, and the unknown, this is the place for you. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a dive into the abyss of terror. Now let's begin. The Dagon, a deep-sea mining rig designed to extract precious minerals from the ocean floor, was a marvel of human engineering. Its skeletal frame extended like a spider's web, anchored in the Mariana Trench, 36,000 feet below sea level. The rig was self-sustaining, equipped with cutting-edge technology to combat the crushing pressure and utter blackness of the abyss. It was humanity's pride, a testament to our ability to conquer even the most hostile environments. For those who worked aboard the Dagon, it was less a miracle and more a prison. Carter Hayes had been working shifts on the rig for 6 months. Like most of the crew, he'd signed up for the pay, not the view. There was no view, after all, just endless black. The walls of the rig were reinforced steel, and every porthole revealed nothing but void. Life aboard the Dagon was as monotonous as it was claustrophobic. The crew rotated between mining operations, equipment maintenance, and endless downtime. When they weren't working, they drowned themselves in cheap entertainment or stared into the void of their own thoughts. But that changed the day they drilled too deep. It began with a rumble, an almost imperceptible tremor that ran through the rig. Carter was in the mess hall when he felt it, the coffee in his mug rippling slightly. Others noticed, too. "Seismic activity?" asked Darnell, the rig's engineer. He was a wiry man with perpetually oil-streaked hands. "Can't be," replied Dr. Fiona Cho, the rig's lead scientist. "This area's stable." A message crackled over the intercom. "All crew to operations. We've hit something." Something. Carter followed the others to the central hub, where the rig's monitors displayed live feeds from the drilling equipment far below. What they saw made his skin crawl. The drill had breached a cavern, an immense, hollow chamber beneath the ocean floor. The camera's floodlights illuminated the space, revealing walls that gleamed like black glass, etched with strange, angular patterns. The designs seemed almost organic, as if they pulsed and shifted when you weren't looking directly at them. "What is that?" muttered Darnell. "Not natural," Fiona whispered, leaning closer to the monitor. "It's a jackpot," said Frank Miller, the rig's foreman. He was a gruff, no-nonsense man with dollar signs in his eyes. "We tapped that cavern. We're pulling up minerals nobody's ever seen before." "But we don't know what's in there," Fiona protested. "We should study it first." This could be our ticket to retirement," Miller interrupted. "Send the drones in." The crew obeyed, launching a series of robotic probes into the cavern. The drone's cameras fed back images of the cavern's interior, each more unsettling than the last. The walls seemed to pulse faintly, as if alive. Strange, jellyfish-like organisms drifted in the water, their translucent bodies glowing faintly. And then one of the drones stopped moving. "Lost signal," said the operator, tapping at their console. "Retrieve it," Miller barked. A second drone was sent in to retrieve the first, but it too lost contact. By the third drone, panic began to set in. Carter watched as the live feed showed something impossible. A dark shape moving in the shadows. It was massive, coiling and shifting like smoke in water. The camera's feed cut out seconds later. "Shut it down," Fiona said firmly. "We need to seal that breach." Miller shook his head. "We've come too far to back out now." The next shift was tasked with extending the drill deeper into the cavern. Carter was among them. The elevator ride down to the drilling platform was nerve-wracking. Carter stood shoulder to shoulder with his crewmates, the hum of the machinery the only sound. None of them spoke, but the tension was palpable. When they reached the platform, Carter was struck by the oppressive darkness outside. The rig's floodlights barely penetrated the abyss, and the cavern yawned before them like the maw of some ancient beast. The drill's vibrations reverberated through the platform, as it bored deeper into the cavern. Carter's job was to monitor the extraction system, ensuring the minerals were properly funneled into containment units. But his attention kept drifting to the blackness beyond the rig. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was watching them. Hours passed. The drill continued its work, churning up strange, iridescent material that shimmered unnaturally. Fiona was right, this wasn't normal rock. "Hey, Carter," called one of his crewmates, a heavy-set man named Briggs. "You seeing this?" Carter turned to see Briggs pointing at one of the containment units. The material inside was moving, not shifting from the vibrations, but writhing, as if alive. "What the hell?" Carter muttered. Before Briggs could respond, the alarm sounded. "Pressure breach detected," came the voice over the intercom. "Seal all bulkheads." The platform erupted into chaos. The breach had occurred near the cavern's edge, where the drill had fractured something vital. Water surged in, and the crew scrambled to contain the damage. Carter barely had time to grab his helmet before the platform began to tilt. In the chaos, he saw it. Something emerged from the shadows of the cavern, an amorphous mass of shifting tendrils and glistening, blackened flesh. It moved with unnatural fluidity, stretching toward the rig. Wherever it touched, the metal began to corrode, eaten away by some unseen force. "Run!" someone screamed, but there was nowhere to go. Carter didn't remember how he got back to the main rig. His memories of the evacuation were a blur of water, screaming, and the unbearable pressure of the ocean crushing in on him. He woke in the infirmary, his head pounding and his lungs burning. Fiona was there, arguing with Miller. "We need to evacuate," she said. "This rig isn't safe anymore." "We're not leaving without the hull," Miller snapped. "We've already lost half the equipment. I'm not leaving empty-handed." "It's not just the equipment," Fiona shouted. "That thing, it's spreading. The containment units are compromised. The material is infecting the rig." Carter sat up, groaning. What's going on?" Fiona turned to him, her face pale. "Carter, did you come into contact with the substance?" I don't think so," he said, but even as he spoke, he felt a strange itch beneath his skin. The days that followed were a nightmare. The alien substance began to spread throughout the rig, corroding metal and infecting the crew. Those who were exposed became different. Their skin darkened, veins turning black as the organism took hold. They stopped speaking, their movements jerky and unnatural. Carter watched as Briggs, once a jovial giant of a man, transformed into something monstrous. His eyes turned milky white, and his body twisted, limbs elongating unnaturally. And then Briggs attacked. As the infection spread, the rig descended into chaos. The infected stalked the halls, hunting the unturned. The once sterile corridors were now covered in black, organic growths that pulsed and oozed a foul-smelling fluid. Carter banded together with the few remaining survivors, including Fiona and Darnell. Together, they hatched a desperate plan to reach the escape pods. But the infected weren't the only threat. The rig itself seemed to be alive, the alien organism merging with its systems. Doors wouldn't open, lights flickered, and the air was thick with a choking mist. One by one, the survivors fell. By the time Carter reached the escape pod bay, it was just him and Fiona. She was bleeding heavily, her arm mangled from an earlier encounter with one of the infected. "Go," she urged him. You're not infected. You can make it." Carter hesitated. "I can't just leave you here." "You don't have a choice," she said, shoving him toward the pod. As the pod launched, Carter watched through the porthole as the Dagon was consumed by the alien organism. It writhed and pulsed, the infected crew merging into its mass. But as he ascended toward the surface, Carter felt a familiar itch beneath his skin. They found him drifting near the support ship, unconscious but alive. He was taken aboard, his story dismissed as the ramblings of a man pushed to the brink. But Carter knew the truth. Even now, he can feel it, growing inside him, spreading. The abyss doesn't let go. And so, Carter's nightmare never truly ended. What the Dagon unearthed wasn't just an alien organism. It was a piece of something far older, far darker than we could ever comprehend. The depths of the abyss aren't just a frontier, they're a warning. If you enjoyed this descent into horror and suspense, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell. We've got more chilling tales of the unknown waiting for you. From the farthest reaches of space to the darkest corners of the Earth, there's no telling what we'll uncover next. Thank you for watching, and remember, some places were never meant to be explored.